First, I would like to thank the organizer for giving me opportunity to deliver my talk. I am basically going to deliver my talk on higher loop beta function for non-Hermitian PT symmetric IG53 theory, which is based on my recently published paper with my supervisor, Professor B.K. Mandal. So, in order to present this talk, I would like to say the motivation for this study. The motivation for this study is basically IG53 theory is non-Hermitian PT symmetric quantum field theory, which has an analogous quantum mechanical theory, whose Hamiltonian is basically this: H equals P square plus iota x cube. As Bender shows yesterday, that this quantum mechanical theory is PT symmetric and have real eigenvalues. So my first motivation of doing this work is basically because there is a quantum analog of this IG53 theory. In quantum field theory region, we see that IG53 theory is a PT symmetric theory, but there is a G53 theory, which is a real field theory, real quantum field theory, whose potential is like 1/2 m square phi square plus half G phi cube, which is kind of cubic potential. And we see that if there is a cubic potential, it is basically not bounded from below. So in some sense, we can say that this theory does not have a stable ground state. But in case of our theory, the IG53 theory, the coupling is complex because there is iota here. And when there are complex number involved, then we cannot order the complex number, and we cannot say if the theory is bounded, the ground state is bounded from below or not. So our second motivation is this. Our third motivation is in G53 theory in 6 dimension. This theory is basically asymptotically free. Means if we go to the larger energy scale, this theory behaves like some free theory. And one more motivation is this IG53 theory is basically like G53 theory in 4 dimension, and it shows that it is energetically stable, perturbatively renormalizable, and trivial. I would like to share some results, which are the one loop calculation done by Carl Bender, which is published in Physical Review D. The Lagrangian density of IG53 theory is basically 1/2 del phi square minus 1/2 m square phi square minus 1/6 iota G53. In this paper, they have shown that the IG53 theory near 6 dimension have basically 3 fixed points, one of which is at G equals 0, and other 2 are basically non-zero values. At exactly at D equals 6, these 2 non-trivial fixed point basically goes to the Gaussian fixed point, which is G equals 0. In this IG53 theory case, this is in some sense like G54 quantum field theory, where it also has 3 fixed point, in which one is Gaussian fixed point and 2 other are Wilson-Fisher fixed point, which are the non-trivial fixed point, non-zero fixed point. And they concluded that with these arguments, they can say that this IG53 theory is energetically stable, perturbatively renormalizable, and trivial in the sense that at D equals 6 dimension, we basically see that this non-trivial fixed point basically merge to the Gaussian fixed point, which is the trivial fixed point of the theory. I would like to because Bender have done one loop calculation, I would like to show the 2 loop calculation. I would like to add something, that if we see the bare Lagrangian density of G53 theory, it is basically like L equals 1/2 del phi 0 square minus half m 0 square phi square minus 1/6 G50 cube. If we see the Lagrangian density of IG53 theory, we basically see that in the interaction term, in case of IG53 theory, there is the complex coupling, which is Ig, and in case of real G53 theory, there is G. So basically, our motivation is to study the G53 theory in 2 loop level, and change this coupling G to Ig and see what happens to the beta function and all other things. So this Lagrangian is bare Lagrangian, where this subscript 0 denotes the bare quantities. Now we would like to renormalize this theory. In order to renormalize this theory, we have to add some counter terms in order to absorb the divergences which are coming in the theory. And now the renormalized Lagrangian density can be written as L equals half del phi square minus half m phi square, m square phi square minus 1/6 g phi cube, plus these are some counter terms which are taking place in order to remove the divergences which will come in the perturbative calculation of this theory. And this basically this coefficient of this coefficient, this field phi 0 is defined like under root z times phi. This unnormalized coupling constant with its relation, the unnormalized coupling constant is take the form z0 z to the power minus 3/2 times g, and this g is the renormalized coupling. And this z and z0 has form like this: z equals 1 plus c m naught square z plus m square plus b. Z0 g equals this renormalized coupling g plus a. We see that in arbitrary n dimension, the coupling g is dimensionful. To make this dimensionless, we basically introduce a mass scale mu, which will help us to do the calculations in further process. This unrenormalized coupling and masses are divergent in 6 dimensions. So we would like to represent them in some around n equals 6 dimension in some power series. We see in power series there is pole at n equals 6. So we would like to basically discuss the theory at n equals 6 dimension and try to calculate these coefficients, and we will try to find the beta function using these coefficients. Basically, I am saying this coefficient the pole coefficient because at n equals 6 there are poles involved. Now I have written that power series. To see if these series are unique, we change the coupling, mass term, and the scale, and we see what are the conditions that we should impose to make these theories, make this series unique. So if we do that, we will find that in order to show that these series are unique, the new parameter have to follow certain condition. That if we change g to some g dash, we would see that in order to make those series unique, we have to put g dash equals g plus epsilon by 2 beta g, m dash square equals m square minus epsilon m square plus gamma m square, where gamma m square is defined as g by 2 del over del g f1 and comma g, and beta function are beta function. This beta function is defined as this beta g equals 1 minus g del over del g e1. So this procedure shows that this beta function depends only on the one loop coefficient, which is e1. But if we do the higher loop calculation, we basically use this series to calculate this e1 e alpha, and we expand the both series, and basically we compare the pole part of this, and we can find the value of e1. This series, as we can see, this series can be further extended to this form. M square z can also be extended to this form. In order to do the two loop calculations, we have to basically put alpha equals 1 and alpha equals 2, because in two loop case there is a double pole at n equals 6, and at alpha equals 1 there is single pole at n equals 6, and due to the vertex involved in case of G53 theory, we have to put this gamma equals 2 and 4, which enable us to calculate the coefficient of this these pole coefficients. So I would like to first perturbatively expand the theory and try to see what are one loop diagrams which will contribute to calculation of these coefficients. So these are the Feynman diagrams which will contribute to enable us to calculate the pole coefficients at one loop level. This A is one loop self energy diagram, B is wave function counter term, C is self energy with massive propagator term. This diagram corresponds to the mass counter term. The diagram E corresponds to the vortex term, and diagram F correspond to the vortex counter term. So I have calculated this amplitude of these diagrams, and it was coming like the amplitude of diagram 1A is this, amplitude for diagram C is this, amplitude for diagram A is G cube mu to the power epsilon by 2 or 2 4 pi cube 2 by n minus 6. We can see that these are the counter terms, diagram B, diagram D, and diagram F. So basically they will give the pole part coming from this diagram, because the use of counter term is to basically absorb the divergences which are coming in the theory. So the amplitude for diagram 1B, 1D, 1F are equal to the pole part of diagrams 1A, 1C, and 1E. Now I would like to show the two loop calculation. So first we will see what are the two loop diagrams which will contribute in calculation of these pole coefficients. So these are the two loop diagrams which will contribute, two loop self energy diagrams which will contribute to the pole coefficients. This diagram A is self energy with some overlapping divergence. B is self energy diagram with nested divergence. C is self energy with vortex counter term, and the diagram D is self energy with wave function counter term. Amplitude coming from this Feynman diagram are basically amplitude for diagram A means A is coming like G to the power 4 P square over 4 pi to the power 6 minus 1 over 6 n minus 6 square minus ln minus P square over mu square 6 n minus 6 plus 1 over 6 minus gamma plus 3 over n minus 6. Basically gamma here is the Euler constant, and there are some finite part which I am not mentioning because we are only interested in calculating the pole coefficients. So I am not interested in the finite part. Similarly, in diagram 2B will give amplitude this. From diagram 2C we can get this amplitude, and diagram 2D we will get this amplitude. We see basically here is some logarithmic divergence, but good thing is that when we add up these amplitudes, this logarithmic term gets cancelled out with this term, and this logarithmic term will cancel out with this term. So there are no worries about this logarithmic divergences. What are the two loop divergences which will contribute to the mass term is basically given in this diagram. A, B, C, and D are the self energy diagrams with massive propagator. E is self energy vertex counter term with massive propagator. F is self energy wave function counter term with massive propagator, and G is the self energy mass counter term with massive propagator. These diagrams will give amplitude basically this. The A will give us the G to the power 4 m square over 4 pi to the power 6 1 over n minus 6 square plus ln minus p square over mu square n minus 6 plus 4 gamma minus 9 4 over n minus 6 plus some finite part. Again, I am not interested in the finite part, so I am not showing the finite part because we are only interested to calculate the pole coefficients. What are the pole coefficients basically coming from these diagrams? In similar way, diagram 3B will give this contribution. Its amplitude of diagram 3B is this. Amplitude of diagram 3C is given in equation 24. Amplitude of diagram 3D is in equation 25, and so on. We can see here are also the logarithmic divergences. But when we add up all these amplitudes, this logarithmic divergences cancel with each other. Because see, there is ln minus p square over mu square over n minus 6. This will get eventually cancelled with this term, and so on. We can see this ln minus p square over mu square 12n minus 6 will gets cancelled with adding these other two diagrams, other two amplitudes. So we are again we don't have to worry about this logarithmic divergences. Then there are the two loop 3.51 diagrams which are relevant to calculation of the pole coefficients. The diagram A, B, and C represent the vertex terms, and D represent the term with wave function counter term. Diagram 4E represent the vertex term with vertex counter term. These diagrams basically give amplitude. The diagram A will give amplitude g to the power 4 over 4 pi to the power 6 minus 1 over 4 n minus 6 square minus ln q square over mu square over 4n minus 6 minus 12 gamma minus 7 over 48 n minus 6 minus x by 2n minus 6 plus some finite part. Again, we are leaving the finite part because we are only interested to calculate the pole coefficients. Diagram 4 we will give contribution this. For amplitude of diagram 4 says this. Amplitude of diagram 4 D is given in equation this 32. Amplitude of diagram 4E is given in equation 33, and the x here is basically integral 0 to 1 del x del y del z. Here is a delta function involved, and this ln xy plus yz plus zx. Now if we calculate the value of E1 and put that in the equation as we have earlier derived, we will find the result that G phi 3 theory have beta function this minus 3 by 4 g cube over 4 pi cube minus 125 over 144 g5 over 4 pi to the power 6. As we have discussed earlier that in G phi 3 theory and Ig phi 3 theory, only difference is that if we change the coupling of G phi 3 theory from G to Ig, we can get the beta function of Ig phi 3 theory. So we are doing the similar thing. So for Ig phi 3 theory, we replace basically G by Ig in the above expression, and we get the beta function for Ig phi 3 theory, which is here the minus term gets cancelled because here is G cube, and when we change G to Ig, it will basically give one I with minus sign. So this minus sign will go out, and here is G to the power 5. So only one I will appear before this G5 term. In order to find what are the fixed points of this theory, we have to put this beta G equals 0. So if we put beta G equals 0 and solve, we can basically get that G equals plus minus under root 108 4 pi to the power cube over 125. We are saying this at G fixed, and we are getting also one solution G equals 0. So we can see that in this theory also there is a fixed point which is trivial, which is G equals 0, and there are two other fixed points which are non-trivial. To see that what is the nature of this fixed point, we have to derive the renormalization group equation, and from there we have the definition of this beta function, that mu del G over del mu beta G, that mu del G over del mu equals that beta function, and this mu is the scale which we earlier introduced to make the mass term dimensionless. If we solve this differential equation, we will basically find that the solution will take this form. Now we would like to say what happens if we vary the scale. Suppose we are going to large mu scale, means high energy scale. We can see that as we go to large energy scales, this G will tend to G fixed. Means if we solve this equation for mu tend to infinity, we will basically see that this G will tend to this point, where I have used G equals under root alpha by lambda, which is coming like 108 into 4 pi to the power cube over 125, which we are saying G fixed. Basically, alpha here is 3 by 4, 1 over 4 pi cube, and lambda here is 1 over 25, 125 over 144, 1 over 4 pi 6. 4 pi 6. As we have seen that in large energy limit, the beta coupling was tending to that G fixed, but in case of limit mu tend to 0, the coupling will go to 0, which shows that theory behave as a free theory in low energy regions. And in low energy regions means at very lower energy scale, this theory is basically free theory in some sense. I have shown the variation of beta function for coupling G for IG phi 3 theory and usual phi 3 theory in this figure. This is the plot of beta function for coupling G for IG phi 3 theory. Here we can see that I have plotted mod beta on the y-axis and G on the x-axis. We can see that there is a cut on the x-axis, which is basically the value of fixed point, the positive one. In case of G phi 3 theory, we only see that this at G equals 0, there is only cut on the x-axis. So it is kind of showing that the G equals 0 is only the fixed point possible in case of n equals 6. But in IG phi 3 theory, at n equals 6 dimensions, there is also a non-trivial fixed point. So basically the above plot show that in the case of IG phi 3 theory, there is its non-trivial fixed point, which is absent in the case of usual G phi 3 theory. I would like to show the 3 loop beta function. What will happen in if we study this theory in 3 loop beta function. So basically, I have taken the beta function of this at 3 loop level for G phi 3 theory from this reference, and then this beta function is like beta G equals 7 over 2 to the power 8 pi to the power 3 G cube plus 2 factorial minus 15 over 2 to the power 9 pi cube square 2 to the power 9 by 2 C1 G to the power 5 plus 3 factorial, and like this. The C1 is a factor which can be determined by calculating the small oscillation determinant at the saddle point of 3-point correlation function of the theory. If we change this coupling G to IG, we can basically find the beta function at the 3 loop level for the IG phi 3 theory, which is basically given in equation 40. If we put beta Ig equals 0, we can see that we get real roots at G equals plus minus 4. For some simplicity, we have taken this C1 equals 1. Idea of doing that is basically I would like to show that that this IG phi 3 theory up to 3 loop is having basically some non-trivial fixed point, and one trivial fixed point which is J equals 0. So this shows that the IG phi 3 theory has a non-trivial fixed point at 3 loop level at this number. Or if we take C1 equals this, which is energetically stable at mu tends to infinity, this G will tend to 4.1039. Now we would like to see the for loop beta function case. For the for loop beta function G phi 3 theory with some symmetry is given in this reference J. Gracie, which is published in Physical Review D. The beta function is like this: beta g equals -1 over 16 g cube minus 11 over 1152 g to the power 5 plus 4363 over 331776 g to the power 7 minus this minus 4032 with zeta 3. This zeta 3 is basically the Riemann zeta function, and you can see the equation 41 for to find the beta function for G53 theory, in which is having this symmetry at for loop level. So in order to find the IG53 theory with symmetry in for loop level, we will basically change the G to IG and putting it at 0. We can say that we can see that this theory is also having a 3 fixed point, in which G equals 0 is the trivial fixed point, and there are other two non-trivial fixed point. So basically G is the trivial fixed point, and G equals 1.3365 is the non-trivial fixed point. So if we study this theory in large mu scale, we can see that as mu tend to infinity, this coupling G will tend to this value. So this is a UV fixed point because the energy scale is very high. So from the above results, we would like to conclude that unlike the G53 theory, this IG53 theory develops additional non-trivial energetically stable fixed point. The high energy behavior of the theory is governed by this non-trivial fixed points. Low energy behavior of theory is basically governed by the Gaussian fixed point, which is equals 0. Using the available result of 3 loop and 4 loop beta function for usual phi3 theory, we can see that IG phi3 theory have non-trivial UV fixed point, which are energetically stable at the 3 loop level and 4 loop level. In all cases, in 1 loop, 2 loop, 3 loop, and 4 loop cases, this G equals 0 is the trivial fixed point. And IG phi3 theory have additional non-trivial fixed points. So with these arguments, we suggest that IG phi3 theory in 6th dimension is energetically stable and perturbatively renormalized. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Aditya. Is there any questions? Please unmute yourself and ask directly. It seems there is no question. So let's thank Aditya for his presentation.